Hello everybody and welcome to the 6th episode of Mix and Mastering Tricks with ARCN Lab. Today I want to talk about mastering myths. Let's start with sample rate. Sample rate is the quantity of dots a software can put per second to describe a single waveform. If you have a sine wave and you put 3 dots, one at the bottom, one at the top, another one at the bottom of the next cycle, you have 3 dots to represent a sine wave, which actually is going to look like just a triangle. So the more dots we add, the more accurately we can represent the curve of the sine wave. My suggestion is to use 48,000 at 24 bit. When you record analog, a higher bit depth and sample rate will then create a better representation of the infinite resolution analog waveform has. Same goes for plugins. At 48,000, plugins have been demonstrated, especially reverbs, clippers, limiters, and every emulation that is oversampling, to have a clear advantage technically and audibly. To my experience, there is no real benefit in using 32-bit or higher resolution, except that it's going to cost you twice the size of your file. We would definitely step into the world of diminishing returns. Second myth, headroom. There is a myth that a file for mastering a mix should always be around -6 dBFS to give a mastering engineer enough headroom to work with. Even if in theory it's good, it's not a rule, it's not a requirement, it was a good practice to ensure that levels are in order. Technically, unless one of its peaks goes above 0 dBFS, everything is perfectly and technically fine. Why? An engineer can always lower the gain of the clip down in Ableton or any DAW, like here, or use the utility to lower the initial gain of the channel, like here, even if there is no headroom at all. So, -3, -6, -12 is the same as far as no peak goes above 0 dBFS. Why? Ableton and any modern DAWs have a 32-bit floating point engine, and it has been proven that there are around 70 decibels of headroom for every channel, which allow engineers to just engage trimmers and gain utility without impacting signal-to-noise ratio. Myth number 3 is that if a channel meter of one of your instruments goes red, the track is clipping and adding distortion. Ableton does not modify the waveform of a single channel, even if the meter shows red, up to approximately 70 decibel over nominal 0 dBFS, like here. The only exception is the master channel. Clipping almost never happens inside the digital domain, but happens when the audio is converted from digital to analog or from analog to digital. For example, when the master channel of Ableton sends the digital information to the digital to analog converter inside your audio interface, and this chip converts the digital information into analog voltage, there is where clipping and distortion occurs. Keep the master channel meter at 0 and always put a limiter during your playback, during your production, during your live set, so that you ensure that no audio goes over 0 dBFS. And this will bring us to the myth number 4, the ceiling in mastering and intersample peaks. It is, or it was, good practice to leave a 0.2 decibel ceiling in the mastering file. This means mastering engineer would apply a clean limiter at the end of the mastering chain, reduce the level to 0.2 decibel, and leave this little headroom. The reasons are multiple. One is intersample peaks and possible conversion problems. Intersample peaks are peaks of audio that happen in between one sample and the other one, one dot of the sample rate and the other one. We saw earlier what sample rate is and how it works, which is the quantity of dots that computer can represent a single waveform. In between those dots, sometimes happens something called intersample peak. The louder the music, the more intersample peaks happen, which means that if we don't leave headroom or a ceiling, we could have files that go over dBFS, which would include unwanted and or unpleasant distortion. On Pro L2 from FabFilter, here you can see the effect of intersample peaks. It has a function called true peak limiting, which comes standard, and it detects every intersample peak and ensures that audio file doesn't go over 0 dBFS. Funny part, it sounds better without most of the time. It is like if going over 0 dBFS, when you do it right, doesn't sound worse than keeping the file at technical 0 dBFS. So why do some people like me and a lot of other mastering engineers decide to ignore the intersample peak and ceiling completely? One reason we saw already is that to my ears and many other engineers, it sounds better without true peak limiting. And the second one, especially in very loud and already distorted genres, an extra 0.5 dB up to 1.5 dB of loudness on top of the mastering outperform and outweigh the possible conversion problems and intersample peak issues. An example with two exact tracks with two exact mastering chain. The first one has -1 dBFS in ceiling and true peak limiting. The second one, you can see already here on top how the track perform in terms of total peak, and we can hear the difference. So I would say that this practice is so much popular that if you go into the top 100 charts of various music genres, or at least the loud ones like hip-hop, EDM, you will see that a lot of songs, even in the top charts, have no headroom and no intersample peak limiting. So now I want to tackle the final myth for today, the fifth myth about mastering, how mastering makes a difference. In a perfect scenario where the mixing engineer delivered a flawless mix, mastering is technically not needed. In that case, the only action a mastering engineer must take is to push the limiter up to taste and send the track back. The point I want to make is this: mastering does not make a bad mix good, nor a good mix better in a significant way. What really changes the outcome is the number of opinions and the number of different ears that a track encounters from start to finish. In the golden days of music industry, a band would have multiple producers, arrangers, recording engineers, some mixing engineers, and one or more mastering engineer. A track would be exposed not to a single mind, but to 5, 10, or 15 professionals, each adding input, pointing out mistakes, and asking questions. The power of mastering lies not in magically improving the sound, but in providing a final, objective perspective. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish you lovely holidays and see you the next time.